Hello and welcome into the new Extra Yard. I am Alex Donno, and I am joined by a former Miami Dolphins great. He's got the Fins polo on. I'm doing an awful job representing the Dolphins today. I am, of course, sitting here live on location at Hard Rock Stadium. Wink, wink. So I'm representing the Dolphins on location, but Troy has the polo on. It's finally week
And
one,
I,
Mr.
I have
Stradford.
I have the old logo on, like from back when I played. Yeah, I had to make sure. I had to double check that. But I just changed this like 5 minutes before the show started. I was like, put on the polo. So
That is a
we'll
good
see what
move.
happens.
Yeah,
Yes.
the only Dolphins jersey I have with me at this location, I feel weird putting it on because it's like a holy thing in my home. I have a Dan Marino throwback, like circa 1980. So it's like if I put it on, I feel weird because I never want to actually wash it because I don't know if the washing machine's going to destroy it. So
You don't want
I
to
like
wash it.
no, I've only put it on like once, the Merino throwback. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I've only put it on once somewhere hidden in like the bowels of my closet. I've got a signed autographed game worn Gus Frerotte jersey, one of the all-time great Miami Dolphins quarterbacks, of course.
All right.
I need to get a Troy Stradford.
I don't even know if they make them. I'm trying to get one.
I'm sure they could be customized. So
I'm sure they can.
This is it's been a minute since we've watched any NFL football because they take the week off now between the preseason and the regular season. That's given Troy and I both a reason and an excuse to watch a lot of college football. I know he was watching his Boston College Eagles. I was watching my Hurricanes the other day. But we hit the ground running, Troy, because this Sunday, 1:00 at Hard Rock Stadium, the Miami Dolphins welcome in Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots.
Did you say Bill Belichick?
We'll see.
So Tom Brady is still part of that too, right?
I love Tom Brady. People always get mad at me because I'm a huge fan. Like even when he played in New England and we faced him twice a year, I had to like pretend I didn't like the guy. Like, oh, I hate that Tom. Yeah, now that he's been
is he on your fantasy team?
Well, no, but I will be selecting him in Prize Picks this week because on Prize Picks, they've got a special where his over-under passing yards is just half a yard, which is basically a free pick. Unless he pulls a hamstring in the warm-ups and doesn't play, Tom Brady over half a yard is basically a free play on prizepicks.com this week. But listen, Brady is no longer a Patriot, and yet does this history matter whatsoever, Troy? Because Dolphins head coaches over the years, over the past, 22, 23 years since Bill Belichick has been in New England. During that span, Dolphins head coaches, the only ones to ever beat Belichick on their first try were Dave Wannstedt and Tony Sparano. All others have failed. Yeah, Nick Saban didn't beat the Patriots first try. Brian Flores had a lot of success against the Pats, didn't beat them the first try. Neither did Adam Gase, Joe Philbin. So only two Dolphins first-time head coaches in the last 20 years have won their first matchup against Bill Belichick. Does that history mean anything, though, when these are – it's still the Belichick Patriots, but it's no longer the Brady Patriots.
Oh, it's still Belichick. Like – when Brady left, a lot of people were sitting there saying, okay, will the Patriots fall off? And obviously they have not fallen off. They did not win Super Bowl, but it's Bill Belichick and his system. They coach well. They do it right. I don't know if you could really tell much about the Patriots from the preseason any given year because Bill Belichick, he just has a different agenda than everyone else, and you're not quite sure what he's up to. So I think that's one of the biggest matchups this coming Sunday is can you beat Bill Belichick? And I mean, you talk about McDaniel's like being up against a mountain right now. He has to go through some adjustments as well, being a first-time head coach. Yes, he had the preseason, but all of a sudden, this is real. I hate to say bullets, but this is real bullets, and things are going to come a lot faster in a regular season game, not only for the players, the younger players, but for the coaches as well.
And I see the comment from Perfect Q. He says, never underestimate your opponent. I don't care how bad the
Never.
Patriots are. And that's, Troy, that's been one of the big storylines
How
heading into
bad
the
they are. Why
season.
does he say they're bad?
I will say,
I don't.
they have looked bad like throughout training camp. But my thing is, I don't know if I believe it. But
Right.
I have a
I
hard time
don't.
believing how bad they look because their offense specifically really poor preseason. Their O-line doesn't look like they can block anybody. Mac Jones didn't play a whole lot, but one of the few snaps that he took threw a really bad interception. And they have, for some reason, Belichick is taking ideas offensively from Brian Flores, which you should never do. And he's got multiple offensive play callers, and neither of whom have ever been offensive coordinators before. He's got Joe Judge and Matt Patricia sharing offensive play calling duties. And so, I'm just wondering maybe if this is like a great troll job by Belichick. Let me make my offense look so bad in training camp in the preseason that I'm just going to play possum because they look really bad, Troy. The Dolphins are favored in this one at home by 3.5 points, which may not sound like that big of a number, but in the NFL, that's a notable number. And I don't know, I can't recall the last time the Dolphins were favored by that many heading into a game against the Patriots, home or away. I think they might have been like a 1-point favorite in the home matchup last year. 3.5, I think that's significant. And honestly, I'm tempted to bet the Dolphins minus 3.5 here, but I'm kind of wondering what the catch is.
So you should have learned 15 years ago. You don't bet against Bill Belichick.
Yeah, especially not the first game
do
against a rookie head coach. You don't.
You just don't do it. He's going to have some trick up his sleeve. He's going to make the right moves. Now, can the Miami Dolphins beat the New England Patriots? I believe anybody could beat anyone in any game because it comes down to your game plan. We'll get into it a little bit later in the show, but the difference between fans, players, and coaches, it is a world of difference. And as a player, personally, I don't ever recall going into a football game, college, professional, where I said, oh my goodness, we're going to lose this game. Never once did I ever think that. And that's not like blowing smoke. That is the truth. And I think that most players are wired the same way where they believe if they follow the game plan, because it comes down to the game plan, and you hear coaches say this all the time, execution, execution, execution.
Perfect Q, or sorry, Alex M says we know Bill will target the Dolphins safety since Jones is out 4 weeks. Yeah, Byron Jones is on the PUP list. Still have Xavier Howard locking down part of the field though. But going back into Troy, the difference in perception from coaches, players, and fans. I am curious because you went through many an NFL preseason. How much can you take from preseason in judging a team? There's so many moving parts, and preseason for me, it has as much to do with deciding the back half of your roster, right? Who's going to make the 53, third and fourth stringers, all that. Like it is as much to do with that stuff as it has to do with actually seeing how good your first teamers are. So, if the Patriots have had a really poor regular season, I think the Dolphins' regular season was pretty darn good. I mean, you had the preseason MVP in Skylar Thompson, who ends up making the 53. I thought the Dolphins, especially that third preseason game against Philadelphia, you finally saw the running game going, which I thought was very important. They rushed for over 200 team rushing yards because they'd struggled to run the ball in the first two. So I thought the Dolphins had a really good preseason. Patriots had a really poor preseason. How much can you take from that? What was your experience like as a player coming out of preseasons?
Listen, when I was a rookie, a preseason game was like a playoff game, the Super Bowl. It means everything to you. But I can recall looking at all of the veterans on the team, Moreno, Duper, Clayton, and all of those guys, and it was like a country club to them. They really were like just going through the motions. It really didn't mean much. They already knew what they had to do once the season started. And so I don't take much from the preseason. The younger guys, it's going to be one, because when I watch a preseason game, I sit there and say, I want someone to show up on film. You want, when the coaches go in and review that game tape, They see your number around the football. When your number is called, you make the play and you develop. And I don't care. Some drafts, it's only one guy that may come out of that draft that helps your team out. The Miami Dolphins, they have a nice mixture of veterans on this football team who are going to carry them. And then all the young guys that come and work their way up, that's just an added bonus. So I look at this whole preseason thing and say, honestly, can we get through it? Can we get through it without anyone getting hurt? You talked about the Philadelphia preseason game, and I sat there and I go, okay, Philly, they felt like they got enough work against the Miami Dolphins in practice, and then they had that unfortunate stomach flu breakout, so they had to cancel that one practice, right? But the head coach is sitting there saying, I've seen enough. We got some good work in. I'm good. So I'm not playing my starters in this preseason game. So the Miami Dolphins, okay, they played well, but they didn't really play against first teamers. And it is like a world of difference from, your second and third guy, especially if you have 5, 6, 7, 10 of them on the field at the same time, as opposed to just one guy on the field at one time.
So I think an interesting thing we could talk about here heading into this game, there's so much new with these Miami Dolphins. Now, we do have the same quarterback, but he's got new weapons, right?
Yeah.
Completely new offense. New head coach who's regarded as an offensive genius in Mike McDaniel. I mean, his play designs are legendary. And so now heading into this one where you have McDaniel going up against Belichick for the first time, Tua has 3-game winning streak against the Patriots.
He does.
He does.
Hard to tell.
Hey, listen, and I can already tell we're
right.
going to get along just based on your Tua reaction. I know you and I are going to get along swimmingly on this show. But who's got more pressure, right? Because the jury is still now, aside from Tuanon, who have already decided that Tua should probably have his number hanging over Dan Marino's in the stadium. Outside of Tuanon, I think the jury is still out on Tua Tagovailoa. So who do you think has more pressure game one, Troy? Is it Tua or is it Mike McDaniel?
Oh, it's definitely Tua. Mike McDaniel, he's going to get a little free pass because when guys don't play well, very rarely do we sit there and point fingers at the coach. We point fingers at the guy that dropped the pass, the guy that fumbled the football, the guy that didn't make the tackle. So we're going to look at the players. So the pressure is definitely on Tua. I really wish I could have a sit down with Tua and see how much of this he feels. Like if he feels pressure. This is another thing. I can remember having a conversation not too long ago where I sat and said, I can never recall playing in a football game where I felt pressure. And I said, it drives me absolutely nuts when announcers, former ball players are doing a broadcast and then they start talking about feeling pressure. And I'm like, as players, you don't do that. You get in the huddle. Donno, it's so scripted. It's like, you know what you have to do. You go in there and you try and do it. Like, so I never got afraid saying, this is a big 3rd down and 3. I'm going to drop this, or I can't drop this. Like, you don't think of that. I'm thinking about if that doggone outside linebacker is going to blitz and run me over or something like that. I don't have time to think about that pressure. And I don't think that players really think of pressure. And when we watch games on a weekly basis, right? College football, no preseason. How many great plays did you see happen this past weekend? I don't care what game you were watching. You saw guys making plays. Mm-hmm. It's your job. It's what you do for a living. You've been doing it since you were a little child. And so when they snap the ball, you go out there and you do what you do best. And depending on your talent level, that will show up on the field as well. But pressure? No pressure. No, I don't believe in that at all.
See,
at all.
This is the sort of insight I love to get from players because, like, the way you describe it, I think I feel more pressure watching them play than some of these guys actually do on the field.
I'm the same way. I'm a nut now. Like I'm on the edge of my seat watching the game now, and I'm like, I wasn't like this when I played. I was like focused. I was calm. I was gonna deal with the matter at hand. But as a fan, we have no control of this. No control. So that's why we get on edge and we get nervous. And especially if you got like $50 or $100 riding on that game.
Which I do on every game that's being played everywhere in the world.
You absolutely are right. You're right. It changes the dynamics, does it not?
Well, so let me ask you then, because your insight on pressure or lack thereof, I find to be great. So, okay, how would you describe the situation that Tua Tagovailoa was in the last couple of years? Because it's been written about a lot and it's been talked about a lot, playing for a head coach in Brian Flores who didn't seem like he believed in Tua and may have been even working basically against Tua behind the scenes, trying to replace him, trying to get Deshaun Watson in. There were a lot of different reports about whether or not Tua was really healthy to start that game against Baltimore last year. He ended up coming on in relief and doing really, really well. So that situation for Tua, because now it seems like Tua and Mike McDaniel are their best buds now. And it seems like Tua has a lot more confidence. So maybe you wouldn't describe Tua. Yeah. And so maybe you wouldn't describe Tua's last couple of years as pressure, but I mean, how difficult do you think it was for him to play for a head coach that didn't seem like he believed in him and really wanted him to succeed all that much?
I think Tua was in a no-win situation. And the way I break it down is, okay, you're the defensive coordinator getting ready to face the Miami Dolphins the last 2 years. And I say this to my friends all the time. I go, who scared you? Name one person. One. I don't care. You pick it. Name one person that scared you. And what name do you come up with? Maybe Gesicki? Maybe? Yeah. Waddle last year.
Yeah, Waddle was really good last year. Yeah.
He was excellent last year. And now that he's going to have Tyreek Hill on the other side, Seth Wilson in there with him, he's going to be even better. So I look at it now and I go, I'm getting ready to play the Miami Dolphins as a defensive coordinator, as a defensive player, because last year it was a joke how defenses lined up against the Miami Dolphins offense and showed no respect. None. They get up in their face, 3rd down and 8. They got the corners up tight saying they're not going to throw it deep because they can't protect the quarterback long enough to throw it deep. And so I think Tua was in a situation that was a no-win situation. And as I look at it now, and Tua, he has weapons around him. And when you have weapons, defensive coordinators, they play totally differently against you. Yes. They're not coming up there showing disrespect to you. When you play against Tom Brady's, and by no means am I making a comparison here. When you play against the great quarterbacks, it's because the defense coordinator all of a sudden is like, oh my God, he's on his heels a little bit. He's like, I got to be careful here. I got to be careful here. Now, do I see Tua ever getting to that level? No, I don't see that. But what the Miami Dolphins have done a fantastic job at is surrounding him with talent. And this week, again, talking to a couple of buddies, I go, do you remember when Tua was at Alabama playing? He goes, yeah. And he's like, yeah, like Alabama was better than everyone. I said, true, I give you that. But Alabama, they had so much talent on the field, and he got protection. Tua, to me, is a timing quarterback. Now, can you say that about every quarterback? Possibly. But the way I look at Tua, I see rhythm.
Yes.
Like he needs to be back there and then get rid of the football. So I'm not hung up on this, can he go deep? I want to see rhythm. Snap the ball, know where you're going before you even snap the ball, your wide receivers, they're going to win more often than they're going to lose this year. And so I look at a rosy outlook when it comes to the Miami Dolphins. Now, people could say, Troy, you're a homer. You're excited about the Miami Dolphins every single year. And every single year, yeah. But this year, it's a little bit different. And I'm not sitting here saying Tua is going to be this great guy. I'm sitting here saying his offensive line should do a better job of protecting him.
Yes.
Teams would send a simple corner blitz, and it affected the Miami Dolphins offense last year. And I would pull my hair out. That's why I'm bald now, because I had a whole head full of hair last year. A simple blitz off the corner where the guy is telling you he's coming, and the Miami Dolphins will have trouble with that. And I go, what are you practicing? How come you can't see that? How come the quarterback misses that? How come the tackle misses that? Or the running back? They had no Donald. They had zero weapons. They had a couple players. This year, they have players and they have weapons. And there is a difference
speed, right? Because they've got three of the fastest players in the NFL in one offense, right? Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Raheem Mostert. I mean, in fact, like it's crazy. I might misquote this stat because it's been a few months since I saw it, but like over the last 4 years in the NFL, you know, they record like the fastest speed from scrimmage, like in a play, right? And two guys who have had two of the last 4 fastest plays from scrimmage both play for the Miami Dolphins now, Tyreek Hill and Raheem Mostert. So it's crazy how much speed there is on this offense. Now, Troy, I did give Troy
the famous football killer phrase, right? There is no substitute for speed.
Right, exactly.
You cannot defend speed. You could try, and you're going to win every now and then. But in the end, speed will wear you down. It will get you out of your game. It will get you on your heels. And to add, talking about not having weapons, the Miami Dolphins the last few years. I look at it now, and I sit here and I will watch games the last couple of years, and never again, because I'm an offensive guy, and I go, the Miami Dolphins never are dictating this situation. They are always reacting to what the defense was doing, because again, the defense had no respect for them. None. Now that they have all of that speed.
And you know why, Troy? You know why? Because the Dolphins have not in years, they've not had an offensive identity. And so it's like you can't dictate to the defense when you don't know who you are, right? Like when you don't know even what kind of an offense you run or what your identity is, how can you dictate to the defense like you can? And obviously, you know, we get an idea of what they want their identity to be. Like it's going to be like San Francisco these past several years. And I did give Troy a small heads up about this when we've spoken. Now, Troy, they call me the mush because I've given very bad. I've given some very bad betting advice on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. They call me the mush, but I also have the reputation of being a Tua hater on this show. And you know why? You know why I have the reputation of being a Tua hater? It's only because I'm not Tua-non. Like I'm not a Tua lover. So it's like the radicalist Tua-non, you know, they're extremists. You're either with us or against us. So if you ever question Tua, you're a Tua hater. But you know what, Troy? I have questioned Tua, but to succeed in this offense and to succeed in the identity that the Dolphins are building, if Tua is just a little bit better than Jimmy Garoppolo, we could be talking about a Super Bowl champion within the next few years, right? If he's just a little bit better than Jimmy Garoppolo, because look at how close San Francisco got with Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think Tua can be better. He's got a way higher ceiling than Jimmy Garoppolo. So if you're talking about what the Dolphins are building from the offensive line to the wide receiver core to the running backs, you know, we'll see. There's no George Kittle running through that tunnel. I know that the Dolphins do not have a tight end who's comparable to, I think, the best overall tight end in the league, right? If we're playing fantasy, I may take Travis Kelce.
I got him on my fantasy last
Good
night.
for you. Good for you.
Absolutely.
That's a good pickup. But I mean, what do you think of that, Troy? That if Tua is just a little bit better than Jimmy Garoppolo, the Dolphins could win a Super Bowl in the next few years?
I don't know about that. I will say this. We were just sitting here talking about no identity for the Miami Dolphins offense, did not dictate the situation on the football field, never pressed the tempo. They couldn't do anything, right? They were a bad football team. They won games. Why did they win games? They have an identity on the other side of the football, Donald.
Right.
They could get after you. The Miami Dolphins, I'm not saying they're a perfect shutdown defense, but they could get after you. They could get to the quarterback. They have the front end and the back end. Their secondary is straight. Javon Hollins, he is going to be a superstar down here as well. And so when you have that front end, you have that back end, all of a sudden offenses, they're on their heels a little bit. And that's why the Miami Dolphins have been able to win. So now they keep that identity on defense, kept the same defensive coordinator. It's going to be the same defense. Those guys came to training camp. You think country club, yeah, they worked hard and everything, but they knew what they were doing. They were just fine-tuning things. Now, all of a sudden, they're going to go out there this year even more comfortable and confident with their assignments and what they're doing, and that defense should still be intact. Now you give all of these weapons on offense, and we talk about the speed. You cannot substitute that speed. You cannot ignore that speed. And now you're talking about the Miami Dolphins playing football on both sides of the ball. I don't know what they're going to average point-wise this year. It would drive me crazy watching games the last 2 years and the Miami Dolphins in today's NFL. Well, all the rules are you can't hit anyone, you can't touch anyone. It's designed for the fans to get people out and excited, high-scoring games. And these college games are ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
NFL games.
Did you see that North Carolina Appalachian State game? 63-61.
Unbelievable. Like, are you tired after that game or what? Like, that's way too many points. But that's entertainment. And that's what fans like. And we watched the Miami Dolphins struggling to score 17 points, 14 points in a football game. And I go, something's not right here. Like, the whole thing is not right here on the offensive side of the ball. Let me ask you this question. This is where coaching comes in, right?
Uh-huh.
We talk about Bill Belichick. Okay, their offense is coming down here. I mentioned Parker to you, and you say what? Facing the Miami Dolphins this week. What do you say? You scared?
No, although as a Dolphin
you know he's
fan,
gonna make a catch or two.
Well, and that's the only thing, right? Because like Wes Welker, Heath Evans, like we've seen Dolphin players over the years who get discarded. They end up in New England and they end up playing well. But I guess if Devonte Parker is actually like even 80% healthy, then he could do some damage. I mean, long, good contested balls, good catch radius. But at the same time, I think he's a bum, Troy. And I think he's a bum because this, like, your best ability is so I didn't know. I thought you were trying to lead me into Devonte Parker is going to torch the Dolphins this week.
No,
and I think that's probably their top weapon. So no. Their offense does not scare me. Mac Jones doesn't scare me.
And that's what we had here. So I'm not sitting here saying disrespect your opponent.
Right.
And Devonte Parker, his specialty, I had this conversation with, I think it was James Pruitt at training camp, because he questioned the size of Tyreek Hill. I'm not even, number one, I'm a little guy. I'm not even worried about that, right? I said, the guy is so doggone fast.
Yeah.
I said, all right, we compare him to Parker, right? He talked about how he could make those great catches, and he had I forgot what he was known for, but, you know, the radius and all of that, tough catches, big body.
Yeah.
I said, that's because he could never get separation. He
That's a good
had
point.
to make those kind of catches because the DB was always right there. Xavier Howard's getting an interception against Devonte Parker this week. He is going to get one because he cannot run away from Xavier Howard. Xavier Howard has way too great, I'm not saying good, great ball skills. You know, Byron Jones on the other side, and even though he's not playing, that's what he lacks from being great. The ball skills that Xavier Howard has. Xavier could cover you, look back, spot the ball, make the adjustment, and become a receiver technically. That's what he does. So Devonte Parker, he's used to guys being on him, and he's going to make, he's going to give you 2 nice catches in the game, but he's not scaring you. And that's just how I see the game.
I'm with you. I want to remind folks that this show is brought to you by Prize Picks. We've gotten Troy into Prize Picks. I'm into Prize Picks. One of the great sponsors of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, the great title sponsor of this show. Guys, if you haven't tried Prize Picks yet, you must hate fun because it's one of the most fun things that you can do. And it's not just football season. Troy, who's a big Mets fan, was telling me about all of his baseball picks, right? You can make college football picks, NFL picks on Prize Picks. You see our code down below. When you create your account or when you rediscover your account, use our code 5. It's FIVE. Type in FIVE, prizepicks.com or the Prize Picks mobile app, and they're going to double your first deposit up to $100. You deposit $100 in there, you get $200 just magically poof in your account. You double your money.
I'm already on my poof money.
Oh, there you go.
I'm on their money already.
It's good. All the more reason to have it in there. If you have a couple tough selections, it's good to have it in there. And something cool. I'm on the app right now, the Prize Picks mobile app, and they're basically giving you a free selection for this week. So I encourage everyone to sign up at Prize Picks. And when you sign up, make sure you remember our code 5, because first of all, it gives us credit, and we love credit. We want Prize Picks to think 5 Reasons is the best because we are the best. And second of all, if you don't type in our code, you're not going to get the free money. You're not going to get the free up to $100 double your first deposit bonus. And they're basically giving you a free selection this week. And you know what a big Tom Brady fan I am, greatest of all time. His over-under in passing yards this week on Prize Picks is 0.5. So if Tom Brady... I mean, can you imagine? I just mushed it. Brady's going to go like 0 for 17 for 0 passing yards this week. But as long as Brady has at least 1 passing yard, that's a free selection this week. So on Prize Picks, you simply make 2, 3, or 4 selections. Select 2, 3, or 4 players. Predict if they're going to go over or under various stat projections or fantasy projections. And if you get all your picks right, you win free money. So they're giving you basically a free selection with Brady. So I'm going to look at Troy. I want your take on the 2 quarterbacks in our game, 1 p.m. Sunday, Patriots at Dolphins. We have identical over-unders. Mac Jones and Tua Tagovailoa over under 230.5. Who do you think goes over? Who do you think goes under 230.5 passing yards?
Tua's over. And they're both over.
Ooh, see, I was going to go Tua over, Jones under. You think they're both over?
Yep.
Ooh. How many yards do you think Tyreek Hill's going to have? I think we can make a selection on that as well. Let me see here.
I am so excited about watching that kid play some football.
Well, and as we saw in the last preseason game, like it's just going to take 1 catch potentially to get him over 50 yards in the game. Okay, so Tyreek Hill, his over-under 69.5 receiving yards is Tyreek Hill's over-under for this week.
Yeah, that's easy.
I'm smashing the over.
Absolutely.
What about Devonte Parker?
Especially if we got Tua going over 230, a lot of that's going to go over there to Mr. Hill himself.
Yeah, if Tua throws for like 250, 300, Tyreek Hill's probably going to have like 120 yards. So Devonte Parker, now a Patriot, over under 42.5 receiving yards.
Okay, I'll give him an over.
Yeah,
he'll make 2 good catches, totaling 42 yards, and then he'll have 3 catches at the line of scrimmage or something like that. So he'll go over.
Oh,
He
this is
better not come
actually
down here and smoke us.
and that would be the worst thing. But this is Alex M actually makes a pretty good point on Tua. I think he meant to type Tua. It came out as Till. Tua over for sure. Pat's missing a cornerback on defense. Now the Dolphins are as well. So did that go into your decision, Troy, on Mac Jones going over, knowing that Byron Jones is going to be out the first few weeks?
No. Here's the thing about Byron Jones. The Miami Dolphins haven't had him all training camp, all preseason. Right. So they've made the adjustments that they need to make. I'm not sitting there saying that the next guy up is as good as Byron Jones. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's not like this is week 3. He played the first 2 weeks, and now you're throwing someone in there in week 3. Whoever's going to step up, need him, right? They're going to go out there with the confidence of a complete offseason, preseason, under their belts. They've been out there. So I think they'll be all right. Will they get beat? All DBs get beat. So that did not factor into my play. Like I think the Miami Dolphins, they will scheme how to overcome that.
Now I'm looking for man, why am I having a hard time finding the over-unders for running backs in this game? So, but while I'm looking for that, let me ask you, because and these guys, Dolphins have running backs who are multiple. Like Chase Edmonds, I think is going to be catching passes as well. So between Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, who do you think is going to have more rushing yards this Sunday?
That's a tough one because I really think it's going to be by committee.
Yeah.
And coaches even said, kind of leaned on that, saying it's probably going to, I'm not afraid to ride the hot hand, but these guys are interchangeable. So we have to flip a coin on that and figure out who's going to get the hot hand. So Edmonds, I think he's going to get the bulk of it to start. So I'm going to say that he will come out with the best. But I look forward to seeing him in this offense. I really do. This zone scheme.
And for Chase Edmonds, 45.5 rushing yards is his over under for this one. I could see him probably going a little bit over. I don't think the Dolphins are necessarily going to have a single player rush for 100 yards. I feel like Troy in this offense with the rotation that they're going to have, I think it's all about team yards. And like it's hard to say individual yards for anybody. I think they want to be like as a committee of running backs, like 150 plus. I don't know if any single player is going to get 100 plus yards.
I agree with you there. And the way I think of it is I go, the Miami Dolphins, we often talk about this when we talk about defenses, but I think offensively for the Miami Dolphins, they're playing sideline to sideline. I know that doesn't sound positive when you're talking offensively, but they're going to make you play sideline to sideline, meaning every single person on that football field is going to be a threat. And that's credit to the offensive scheme. He throws a lot of wrinkles at you. And, we talk about this matchup against Belichick because we know he's coming with 1, 2, or 3 of those. And McDaniel, he has to have a few of his own. But I don't think his are tricks. I just think that's what he does. Play action here, play action there. We're going to stretch you this way. We're going to make you cover to the right side, to the right side, to the right side. And then this is where I see Edmonds hitting it. Like, he loves his style of running. He's going to stretch that thing. And then eventually when he gets the feel of it, he's going to see that linebacker jump over the back to try and cut him off. And he's going to hit that seam on the backside. And it's going to be pretty to watch.
As a running back, how frustrating has it been the last couple of years just watching the Dolphins basically unable to run the football? I mean, like they couldn't run last year, Troy. I mean, how frustrating is that? Like I want to see somebody consistently break some big
Yeah,
game. I mean,
yeah.
a couple good games. Duke Johnson had probably the two best games of any running
At
back
the
on the team.
end of the season, yes. And it
Yeah,
was nice to watch that, right?
it was.
Because when you could run the football, it makes everything else easier. When you have those, when you're pounding them, we talk about college games last week, and my Boston College Eagles, you know, unbelievable. They got the lead and they give up a 96 play drive. I think it was like 9 plays or 10 plays, Donald. Not one passing play. They just ran it down their throat. And when you could just run the ball, offensive linemen, you should hear them in the huddle. They're sitting there like, come on, let's go. I'm going to, like, they don't like pass blocking because that defensive guy has the momentum. He's coming. He's in that charging mentality. But if they start running that football and they come off the ball, oh man, offensive linemen, that's like eating a steak dinner for those guys when they can run the ball like that. I'm telling you, they love it.
Oh man, I love that. So guys, I want to remind everybody, sign up prizepicks.com or the PrizePicks mobile app. Use our code 5 FIVE and they're going to double your first deposit up to $100. PrizePicks truly is daily fantasy simplified. Alex Donno alongside Troy Stradford here on the new Extra Yard. And it's funny, now that we are new, we've got to get a new logo, because I was noticing we still have the faces of, and I love these guys. Believe me,
I don't think that's me.
I don't think I see myself either, because everybody has hair. So I know I don't see me. So we're gonna have to get a new logo for the Extra Yard, and I love like Kai and Juan and Royal. Awesome job. We got a lot of great programming here, Dolphins programming to go along with the Heat programming and the Canes programming here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Troy, we look at the opening schedule for the Dolphins.
Yes.
I'm feeling pretty good about getting a win week 1, but I'm not underestimating the Patriots. Okay. I see some people saying it's a blowout win for the Dolphins. Okay. Prove that to me, Dolphins. Prove that to me, McDaniel. Prove that to me, Tua, because I'll believe it when I see it. Dolphins start up the season home against the Patriots, at the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Dolphins did smash the Ravens here last year. That's a tough road game, and hopefully they can defend Lamar Jackson the exact same way that they did last year, but I don't know. That's a tough road game. Then they're home against the Bills. We haven't beaten the Bills probably since you were playing. And then at the Cincinnati Bengals, who just appeared in the Super Bowl last year. So that's a baptism, those first 4 games of the season, Troy. What's your early outlook on Miami, and how many of those 4 games do they have to win where you're feeling like, yeah, we're going to be in the race to be playoff contenders?
All right. Now, to answer that question is kind of difficult for me because this takes me back to the player mentality, media fan mentality. The season schedule comes out and fans go, that's a win, that's a loss, that's a win. They go break down the whole schedule.
Yeah, I've got them 10-7. I broke down the whole schedule.
And yeah, you got them at 10-7.
Yeah.
The players, they're focused on one game only. But I'm gonna put that to the side, and I'm gonna sit here and say, listen, the first 4 games are critical for the Miami Dolphins. Now, the type of coach that McDaniel is, I believe that if they were to go 0-3 or 0-4, I think he still would get to his players. Like, I don't think they're going to shut down. I really believe there is a connection there. You talked about the Tua connection and the head coach connection already in the show. I just think that how cerebral he is, how he really thinks about the players and if they're all right, what they're going through. All coaches don't do that.
Because there's nothing wrong with that,
really
right,
don't.
Troy? And like,
No,
I wanted
in today's game.
Well, right, exactly. But I want your perspective on that because you played in a different era. Every
Yes.
coach was a hard ass when you played. That was just the way it was supposed to be. Like if you're a football coach, you've got to be a hard ass. If a player does something wrong in practice, they get chewed out or they get cut or they're running wind sprints. That's just the way that it used to be. Whereas like Mike McDaniel, he's a player's coach, and we've seen successes and failures of people who are players' coaches, but I think he does it a little bit differently because he's very intellectual with the way he approaches, I think, the teachable stuff. And I don't think there's anything wrong with positivity, right? Like, when in the preseason, training camp, when, Preston Williams had a little bit of a Twitter outburst, it's like people like, oh, is he going to get cut? Well, no, I mean, McDaniel actually encouraged him like, hey, like, yeah, let's try and get you more opportunities. Let's see what you can do on the field. And even if that may not have ended up being a personal success story for Preston, I didn't have any problem with the way the coach handled it. I think in today's game, not everybody has to do things exactly the way that Nick Saban does things in college, or even the way that, and I love this man so much, even the way Coach Shula did it, may he rest in peace. I just think the game has evolved.
The game has evolved because the money has changed. You're talking about guys making guaranteed money that we can't count, right?
Right.
Guaranteed money. You are almost forced to deal with them a little bit differently nowadays to back in the day. Back in the day, it was head coach and it was players. And it just stayed like that. That did not change until the money changed. And now that the money has changed, a player, he'll tell you to kiss off. Like, don't talk to me that way. And so, as opposed to trying to win that battle, because you can't win that battle, that player has just as much power right now. You have to do it a different way. And McDaniel has done a good job with it right now. So far. But back to the first 4 games, Donald.
Yeah.
This thing could fizzle, or it could just take off like a rocket. You let the Miami Dolphins come out and continue to build confidence. You let that offense come out next week and like hit on all 12 cylinders, and you see everything finally like just come to life, like what everyone's hoping for to see down here. If you see that defense will even go to another level. And if that happens, now you turn the page on Tuesday and say, okay, now we got the Baltimore Ravens. What do we got to put together to beat the Baltimore Ravens? And that's where you go that step by step, 1 week at a time. And if you handle your business, it could be a special season for the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, no,
I'm hoping.
I'm hoping too. What are you expecting this season from Tua? We talked about now he's got all the weapons. Like he's got the weapons I wish he had the previous 2 years. The jury is still somewhat out on the offensive line, but they're going to be better. Like you don't add Terron Armstead and Connor Williams and not get better. They're going to be better. He's got more weapons at running back. He's got a head coach who they actually seem to get along both, academically and personally. So, I still wish the Dolphins had drafted Justin Herbert, but I think Tua can potentially succeed in this offense.
Were you one of those who said you liked him better back then?
Not back then. I completely flip-flopped on it now.
Okay. All right. I just had to check you on that.
Do you know who ruined Justin Herbert for me? My buddy Omar Kelly. He ruined because I think it was him who before the draft that year, he said Justin Herbert is Ryan Tannehill 2.0, and that it scared me. Like I'm like, nope, not drafting this guy. Give me Tua or give me death. Right. Yeah. And listen, I still now back then I would have said I'd rather have Joe Burrow, but the Dolphins couldn't draft Burrow. They didn't have the number 1 pick. They may have even tried to trade for the number 1 pick. But no, I've definitely flip-flopped on Herbert. But now I'm Justin Herbert's biggest fan, especially since Mario Cristobal, who coached him over at Oregon, is now the head coach of my beloved Canes. I am a huge Herbert believer.
I was not a Herbert believer because I didn't see a lot of Oregon games, but the games that I did see, the big games, they always lost them.
Yeah, that's right.
They always lost them. And I go, if this guy is so great, forget about the easy games. Like, win a big game. Oregon, you're not on TV all the time down here. Win a big game. And I didn't see him win a big game. Now, someone to check me on that, but I did not, or I don't recall him winning.
He won at least one Pac-12. I think he won 2 Pac-12 championship games, but I can remember the last bowl game that he played, not very good. And some of the big games in the Pac-12, but he did win a couple Pac-12 championships.
Yeah, you got to step up in the big moment.
But what about Tua? What do you? Yeah, no, I agree. But what do you think happens with Tua this year? Does he cement himself as the franchise quarterback, or are we hopefully wheeling and dealing to draft my guy Tyler Van Dimes next year?
You got your favorite already.
I'm already moving on.
And he's down the street, right?
That's right. Stud.
When it comes to Tua, I'm hoping, like I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm hoping that I see a little bit of what I've seen from him in a couple practices that I went, the little bit of preseason that he played. I see more command when he's at the line of scrimmage before he snaps the ball. And I say it all the time, you know, the Marinos, the Elways, the Bradys, they beat you before they snap the ball. They beat you before they snap the ball. And I'm looking at Tua, and I just see a different aura about himself. He also knows that he has better players around him. And I think that he's developing, and I hope it pans out throughout the season, he's developing that process at the line of scrimmage where he's like, okay, I see what you're doing. I got you. I'm coming. And when you play football with that kind of confidence, you're only going to be successful. So I'm looking for a big season out of the Miami Dolphins and Tua. I hope I don't sound like a homer, but I was upset with the Miami Dolphins after last year. I mean, I was really upset. And so they got me singing a different tune right now.
I like it, man. I love Positive Troy. Let me throw some shout outs here because Troy, we've had some awesome folks in the live chat, and listen, I know we've got more people watching this right now live, well over 100 that have actually been chatting. So I want to encourage you guys, man. Every time Troy and I are on, and this is usually going to be a Monday show, okay? The new extra yard. We did it on Tuesday because yesterday was a little holiday, Labor Day. So we're usually going to be on Mondays. Doing it Tuesday this week. Join us every Monday, 3 p.m. and light up that live chat. Perfect Q. Thank you so much for getting in. Shake Money. And what you'll see a lot of, Troy, it's fun. Not only will people in the live chat interact with us, they also talk a little crap to each other. Like they get a little trash talk going sometimes.
Oh, that's fun. When I get comfortable, I'll get in there and I'll start talking some smack also.
I love it. Brooklyn Rob.
I read it.
Positive Troy and Negative Mush. I love that. Alex M has been prolific. Thank you. Dolphin Don, thank you so much for tuning in today. John Santos, thank you so much. How dare you slander Justin Herbert? How dare you? The man is a stud.
He's a stud now. I didn't think he was a stud back then. But again, small sample size of how I've seen him play.
Yeah, absolutely. Big Avelli, thank you so much. He's asking, and you want to go back big and watch the first part of the show once the replay goes up on YouTube. We started out the show talking about this. The Patriots have really, really looked bad in preseason and training camp, specifically the offense. I'm just not sure if I'm buying it, right? I'm not sure if I'm really buying the fact that Belichick is washed and that the team. I know he's not drafted well in recent years. I think the proof has been in the pudding with that.
You could be critical of him about that.
Yeah,
that has fallen off a little bit.
Yeah, so they look bad big in preseason. I'm not convinced they're really that bad. Troy is certainly not convinced that they're really that bad. We had a big lengthy discussion about that near the start of the show today.
I'm
Dave,
willing to bet, Donald. I'm willing to bet. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm
no
willing to
worries.
bet that if you went over the, I don't know, last 8-10 years and you looked at the New England Patriots in the preseason, the record never reflected any type of success for the most part. I think he constantly works on things and tries to find that diamond in the rough who's going to become a contributor to this starting unit. So I don't think the Patriots put too much stock at all in the preseason. Well, they didn't have to when Tom Brady was there.
Are you saying I should bet Patriots plus 3.5? Or and by the way, guys, I would never place that wager. I mean, unless I really feel like the line is going to change in a way that I don't like. I'm not usually placing my Sunday bets on Tuesdays. There's just too many things that can happen between now and Sunday. But I'm Troy. I'm leaning to Dolphins minus 3.5. I'm kind of hoping that number gets smaller before Sunday because I'd much rather do like Dolphins -3 than -3.5.
I learned a lesson a couple years ago. Never bet on your favorite team. Your
That's a good
emotions
point.
are in there, Donald. Donald, go bet on the Jets or something.
Well, I'll bet against the Jets if I bet on,
Or
if I bet on a
against them.
Jets game.
But like you're too close to the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
So I don't even bet on them. I'll bet on everybody else.
Yeah.
But the Dolphins, I'll leave it alone.
That's a smart move.
Or I
By the way,
try to.
every now and then. Every now and then. Howdy, by the way, to Ray. I always love Ray. Is always like just a ray of sunshine and positivity. I love that dude. Lance McDonald. Hello. Thank you so much for tuning in. Cap for Life, who's another one. And I think this dude, Cap, I love this guy, Troy.
Yeah.
I don't know if he does this for oh no, I was thinking of Big Dan. Big Dan and Cap, they both are very much all in capitals. So there's this other dude, Big Dan, who goes
So
through
are
every
they
single
screaming or what is it? That's
I think they're screaming, but it's like in a positive way. And
Oh,
and I
okay.
love, like I love Cap. I love Big Dan. I love I don't know if we saw our guy. I think we saw our guy Chris from the Finns Tailgate in here as well. He's awesome. Devin Jordan, thank you so much for tuning in. Roy Crosby, thank you so much. You Dodis, thank you so much for tuning in. And if I missed anybody, I apologize. I try to shout out everybody that I can see in the chat thread. But yeah, any parting comments, Mr. Stratford? Week 1, Dolphins Patriots on Sunday. Got a full NFL slate starting with Thursday Night Football this week. Are you just glad it's back? What are you looking forward to most out of this week?
Yeah, I'm glad it's back. Listen, we go through this. They call it the offseason. I don't know what else you need to call it, but yeah, I'm a big baseball fan, but everything changes when football starts, right?
Yep.
The atmosphere, everything, like the household changes until your team loses, but everything is more positive, more active. It's just a lot better when football is being played. So I just can't wait for this to kick off. Thursday will be the first game. See what the Rams could do, but
and the Bills are favored by 2.5 at the Super Bowl champions this Thursday.
Bills have a lot of weapons on that football team as well, and they have the quarterback that's already there. So they are definitely going to be a dangerous football team, but it's going to be fun, Hey, by the way, I sent my first little tweet there. Did you get it? Did you see it? Did it go through? I did. I was private chat.
Oh, that's why. Hold on. Yeah, I'm looking at the right here. Troy said we are going to have some fun this season, guys, but he sent it to where only I could see it.
There you go. Yeah, now I see it. I hit comments now. I see everyone's tweet now.
There you go.
Okay. All right. I'll be better next week, guys.
All good. Well, listen, guys, and again, we're going to be with you every Monday, man. I know today's Tuesday, but it's fake Monday because we had a holiday on Monday. Today's fake Monday. We'll be here real Mondays at 3:00. Former Miami Dolphin Troy Stradford. Love his insight. He can give the rational type of insight that I cannot give you because I'm irrational. I'm a crazy fan. He's a more rational former player. I am Alex Donno. We will talk to you guys again next time on another episode of The New Extra Yard.